What we're going to do is we're going to think about what it means to be a partner, taking bits from Paul's letter to the Philippians. So keep that page open, look down at 4 verse 14, first of all. 4 verse 14, perhaps the greatest understatement in the whole Bible. 4 verse 14, yet it was good of you to share in my troubles. Paul is in prison when he writes that. And he is facing execution. He doesn't know for sure, but that is a real possibility. And in a Roman prison, there is no prison food, not even prison food, you might want to say. The guards won't feed you, the state won't feed you. It has to be your family or your friends. But in a Roman prison, you often don't have any friends because it's actually dangerous to associate with someone in prison. So no one wants to risk that. Paul is alone. Paul is hungry until it was good of you to share in my troubles. And share is the partnership word. If you were here this morning, we looked at the first 3 times. That word comes in the letter, translated partnership, or common sharing, or participation. And now here it means they sent him some money to pay for his food, and they sent someone with it to carry it to him. And that made him happy. Verse 10, I rejoiced greatly in the Lord. I bet he did. And he goes on, though, to say the food actually wasn't the main thing. He's learnt to be hungry and in need and in want. He was starving in prison, but that wasn't the main thing. It was good of you to share in my needs, but there in his prison cell, it was good of you to share in my trouble. They were partners in suffering. They were sharers in common. That's what partnership means. We are in this together. And there are other ways to be partners this morning. Mainly we thought about physical attendance, meeting together, and we thought about prayer. Those are huge categories in the Bible. But tonight, it's about what they did with their money. That's what told Paul that they were concerned for him. It meant they were sharing in his troubles. Partnership, it is far, far more than money, but it will often include money. So tonight we're going to think particularly about partnership and money, and we're going to think about partnership and service. So the giving of time and the giving of coins that represent time, stored time, earned time. And just as we start, I want to acknowledge that the English are not very good at talking about money. A lot of people here are not English, and you may think this is a bit of a myth, but just find someone tonight. Ask them, are you English? If they say yes, then say, how much do you get paid? It's a perfectly normal question, perfectly fair question. All over the world, it's just the same as, how tall are you or how old are you? But watch them squirm. So I'm English, some of you are English, we're in England, but we are going to talk about partnership tonight, which means we're going to talk about money. I'm going to find it difficult, and you may find it difficult to hear, but we both need to get over it, because I rejoiced greatly, verse 10, and it was good of you to share in my troubles, verse 14. The joy and the goodness in Christian partnership, it comes when we put the whole of ourselves into action for the gospel, all for Jesus. So we're going to think about partnership, and we're going to spend a long time on point 1, including a whole load of thinking about application, and then we'll have 3 points quite quickly at the end that will be the why and the how from the letter. Okay, so point 1, partners. And I said this morning, if you were here, partnership is just a very normal word in the New Testament. It covers a range of meaning, but a kind of family business partnership is about the right way to think about it. Luke chapter 5 uses the word to mean the fact that Peter and James and John, they owned a fishing business together. They were partners. They have to help buy a boat if the old one sinks. They share in the profits if there's a lot of smelly fish. They don't if there aren't. That's how a partnership works. And Jess, even tonight, just used investment as her vocabulary for talking about deciding to be a partner. 4 verse 14 is about kind of crisis stuff. It's about sharing the troubles of a gospel prisoner. But 4 verse 15 is about business as normal. And that's the main verse, really, we're here to look at tonight. Verse 15. Moreover, As you Philippians know, in the early days of your acquaintance with the gospel, when I set out from Macedonia, not one church shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving, except you only. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid more than once when I was in need. Shared is the partnership word again. Shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving. Philippi was a city in Macedonia, and Paul and his friends, they were there only for a very short time. We're not sure exactly how long, but some days is how it's talked about. But a woman called Lydia and her household became Christians, and then a few others, and then it all came to an end. There was an arrest, then an earthquake, then the conversion of the prison jailer and his household, and then they moved on the next day and they're gone. But those few Philippians, in that short time, they became partners. Paul's on his way to Greece. He's taking the gospel to Greece for the very first time, and Macedonian money followed him from Philippi. The Philippians shared in the matter of giving and receiving. And if you want to look up what happened with that, in Acts 18, there is a really significant mention of Macedonia. Paul goes to Corinth, and he's doing leather work. That was his job, Monday to Saturday. Sunday to Friday. He's doing leather work, and then on the Sabbath, on the Saturday, he preaches. He's earning money to support himself. Until 18 verse 5, Silas and Timothy arrived from Macedonia, the region where Philippi is. And from that point on, Paul devoted himself exclusively to preaching. There's nothing wrong with an apostle working to earn his money, to eat and live, but how much more efficient if that small church in Philippi, maybe, 20 of them, if 20 of them give up some of their money so that he can devote himself to preaching exclusively. That's partnership. So who was it who evangelized Thessalonica and Greece and Corinth? Who did that? Was it Paul? Yes. Yes, it was Paul. Was it Lydia? Yes. Lydia didn't leave Philippi, but this was a common shared task. Lydia converted Corinth without even going there because it was a partnership. And money, all money is a mechanism of exchange. Sorry to take you back to GCSE economics, but that is just what money is. And the matter of giving and receiving here, it just works through the denarius and the sestertius, or the pounds and the pence today. It's really just exchanging what we want to have in common in our common project. So one person here tonight might give, 30 hours of their year to playing music here, or to sorting out chairs and Bibles on chairs, and the rest of us receive. Giving and receiving. We receive music and a nice chair with a Bible on it, nice and neatly. Giving and receiving. But no money changes hands when that happens. Another person might give money, and the money pays for drinks before the service and after the service. They give, and we receive a can of Fanta. Actually, it's nicer than Fanta, isn't it? Something else. But, can of Fanta, that's what we get. They give, we receive. There's no real difference. There's certainly no moral difference between those four sets of people. We're all partners. Like All Souls was a fishing business shared between brothers and friends. The gospel needs some music and some chairs so we can sit and read the Bible, so we need some Bibles. And then afterwards, we want to speak about the gospel, so we need a carbonated, sugary drink. So now I can talk about the gospel. But either way, it's just shared in the matter of giving and receiving. And English people get all weird about money, which doesn't help at all. We think some people are worth more if they have more money. And we think we might be worth more as Christians if we give more money. Who's worth more in chapter 4? Do you notice Paul is the receiver in the partnership in chapter 4? He's in prison with no money and no food and no friends. Is he less valuable? Not at all. And the Philippians have some money, they're the giver. He doesn't, he's the receiver. So what I want to do is revisit an illustration I used this morning and just tell you particularly how it helps me think about money when I'm making money decisions. I said this morning, we often think about church involvement like it was supporting a charity. We had social club in the interview. That's another good way we sometimes think this is only a social club. Sometimes we think it's only a charity, or we think it's like a family. That's better, but it's kind of family when we go and see them on high days and holidays, when everyone's on best behavior. But really, this is more like sharing a family business together. And I talked at length this morning about the family business I know best, which is the garage where my wife's sister works. Claire's sister, Jamie, she met a guy called Phil when they were students, and Phil's dad, Ray, owns a garage in New Barnet. That's fair enough, that's nice, that's a summer job when you're a student, and it's a cheap MOT when you have a car. Then one day, Ray asks Phil if he wants to come in on the business, come and be a partner. So now it is Phil's garage as well as Ray's garage. And then Jamie joins as well. It's their garage. The website says a family business since 1972. And you can track the photos across the About Us page. There's Ray Seller, who has a kind of grey goatee. Then there's Phil Seller, who has a ginger goatee and looks a bit like Ray. And then there is Jamie Seller, no goatee, and looks a bit like Claire. And they all work there in different roles, different skills. But the whole thing, it is theirs. And this morning we looked at how that changes how you go into work or how you come to church. That's the illustration. Changes how you feel about things that are going well or going badly, decisions that you like, decisions you don't like, how much you care about everything. And so what about money? If it's your own business, you think differently about putting your money in, don't you? The pros and cons are different when it's your business. Let me just give you one example from the life of Phil and Jamie. So a few years ago, they decided to do up a house. They're total lunatics. They did that at the same time they were living in it and at the same time as having children. But, fair enough. And doing up a house means spending some money, doesn't it? One of the first things Phil did was he ripped out the kitchen. And at that point, you are committed to spending some money, aren't you, if you want to eat ever again. But how much money? How nice a kitchen do you get? And because Phil and Jamie, they don't just own this wrecked, empty shell of a house, they also own a business. And it was about the time when the car trade, it was moving from the days when most vehicles were basically an engine, a big oily engine with some lights and indicators stuck on the sides, to the days when now cars are kind of big computers with a bit of an engine stuck on them as well. So there was a lot of new equipment they needed at the garage and a lot of new training people had to do at the garage. A lot of money was needed. So the decision about how nice a kitchen to get is made in the context of how much money do you want to put into your business. Of course you can get a kitchen and no reason at all not to get a nice kitchen. But every pound in the kitchen is a pound that can't be working for them in the business that they own, where they are partners, where they want to maximize their investment. They want the business to go as well as possible because it's theirs, but they also need to spend some money elsewhere or they won't eat. See how I think that helps as we're trying to make decisions. Christians, we're so embarrassed about talking about big financial spends in our lives, whether it's kitchens or homes or holidays or cars, as if someone might leap on them and say, oh, how ungodly. Why didn't you give that money to church instead? I think actually that is the charity model. I think it leads in the end, long term, to much less joy and much less money. The charity model, you support your chosen charity by deciding how much to give out of what you have left after you've done all the stuff for you. But in the partnership model, the business model, everything I have is about making the garage thrive. But I do need a kitchen. So I need to decide. I'm going to have to spend money on the kitchen. So what should you say to a Christian who needs a new kitchen? I think you say something like this. I think you say, oh, I'm sorry. What a pain for you. You must have wanted to put all your money in the business, in the gospel. but now you're going to have to buy a kitchen instead. Sorry. I think that's the right way to think about it. Different mindset, isn't it? A couple of families, really, a couple of households in Philippi are able to support one Paul in Corinth full time. That is an incredible return on their investments. Gospel has punched its way into a whole new region of the world. And it's the same, of course, with our time, isn't it? Time is just money stored up. Sorry, money is just time stored up. So giving our money, giving our time is really very similar. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you'll have responsibilities in your family. I said this morning when Jamie had twin boys, she did not do much at the garage that year. But the partner starts from thinking that the shared common project, the business, is the first thing in our lives. It's not what shall I keep back for me? It's not about what do I deserve? It's about the best use of me in this common project that we're all committed to. So in, 10 more minutes or so, we're all going to be invited by Ellie to commit to living that kind of life. It's the kind of moment Phil had when Ray said, do you want to join me in the business? Not just in the family, but also in the partnership. And Phil thought very hard about that. If this is your first Partnership Sunday here, if you've been many, many years, you may just tick again, yes, still here. But you might want to think very seriously about this. He did, to be bought in and committed to using everything here, everything in your life, as if All Souls was yours, ours, together, our common projects. And some people here will be new to London or new to All Souls, and some will be new to the Christian faith. And tonight is not at all about putting pressure on somebody. If All Souls is a place where you're getting help to think through the Christian faith or maybe to recover from a hard church experience elsewhere, I think that's a real service a large church can give. Come, sit, receive from us. We'd love that to happen. Take as long as you might need to work that through. We're so glad you're here. But others will come and want to be a partner, know that that is what being a Christian is sort of all about, but maybe you're realizing you are a partner but not actually here. Maybe during the lockdown even, your life has changed, you're now based somewhere different, your life revolves around somewhere different to last time you signed the partner page on the website. And maybe it's time to acknowledge that you should be a partner somewhere else. I can't quite see whether the treasurer is glaring at me. I am asking you to cancel your donation, move somewhere else. But that would be good, wouldn't it? Because wherever you go, it's the same gospel and the same global church, and that the joy in serving for you will be in being fully committed there. There's one exception, I think, well, maybe one or two. Students, I think, some students here tonight, you may genuinely be partners in two places because your life is actually split in two places. Spend 6 months of the year in Hong Kong or Lancaster, 6 months of the year here. Well, then you could be a partner in both places. Then there might be others. You could use this Sunday as a first step into the joy of being a partner. And I would really urge you as you do that, if that's what you want to do, just take at least a step to share in the matter of giving and receiving. What's there in 4 verse 15? Give and receive your own person, so be here every week if you possibly can. Receive encouragement from others, give them your encouragement. Receive help from fantastic life group leaders or youth group leaders, give hours of their time so that you can grow, but also start giving and serving yourself. Some people will have no money and lots of time, other people will have lots of money and no time, others will have very little of either, but if we're all partners, we will get joy out of starting in those areas. When I was a student, I was encouraged to give £5 a month. Just give something to the church that you're part of. If you want to do the inflation on that, you need to come and ask me how old I am, which obviously is a perfectly normal, it was a long time ago, that's what I will say. Give something. Serve somewhere. If you have 20 free hours a week, well, the gospel needs it. serve. If you can give 1 hour a month, serve. And this Sunday and the weeks afterwards, as you think about it, it's a really good time to review. So if you renew as a partner, you'll receive an email asking you to review how you serve and review how you give, how much you give, up or down. How much does the partner want to invest in the business this year? If a student gives inflation-adjusted £5 a month, well, then most with a job, I think we'll be deciding how many thousands they want to give a year. Be something like that, though others will give much less, and some, it might be 50,000 a year, the amount you'd give to a business that you really believe in. It'll vary. We're all different. No one's better or worse based on how much they give. Paul gave nothing and received everything in chapter 4. Because there is so much we could do here in London and around the world, so much that you as a partner may want to say that All Souls should do. I was in a quite short planning meeting earlier this week when the senior ministry team, I was keep taking notes as we went, spent about £300,000 of extra ministry in an afternoon. They didn't actually, because I won't let them, until I know how many partners we have and how much money you want to invest in the gospel next year. Post-COVID, we might actually be a much smaller church than we were. We might be a church with much less available money. That's fine. We're only the people the Lord has made us with what the Lord has given us. But there is so much we could do, so much more we could do. And if you and I leave our giving the same every year, that could be right. But actually, I wonder, is that saying that we're thinking, really, this is a charity like any other, or a membership organization like any other? Here's my donation, here's my subscription. Rather than moving that number up and down in changing circumstances to maximize the investment in the shared project. Okay, now who lives like that? What kind of person really treats the gospel as if it was a family business? What's in it for you? There's no pension in it for you. There's no share bonus. There's not even a cheap MOT in it for you. Why would you? So this is quickly just a look at how Paul builds his case earlier in the letter. So we are partners because, too, we are partner citizens. I just want to look down at 3 verse 19. 3 verse 19, there's a group in Philippi who Paul is very negative about. He says their destiny is destruction, their God is their stomach, their glory is in their shame, their mind is set on earthly things. Then Paul says that is not us. Verse 20, our citizenship is in heaven, and we eagerly await a Saviour from there. You are a citizen of somewhere else, and not of earth, and with resurrection bodies in our future. Verse 21. That makes sense of some of Paul's decisions, doesn't it? That's why he's willing to be hungry in prison. If your God was your stomach, you would say, get me out of here. That's why he can say in chapter 1 that death would be gain for him, because he's a citizen of heaven. So he partners in the suffering of Christ now so that he can also share in the resurrection of Christ after death. And citizenship, that was a very powerful image for them. I think it is for us as well, image about belonging and who you are and what you want and what you're committed to. It was huge in Philippi because unlike all the other cities in Macedonia, to live in Philippi, when it was refounded by the Roman Empire, they gave them all citizenship. To be born in Philippi meant you were a Roman citizen. It was like being born in Rome, 1,000 kilometers or more away, with all the legal privileges and the freedoms and the joy and the responsibility that went with it. And when you become a Christian, you don't stop being a citizen of the country you're part of any more than you stop being part of the family that you're in, but you gain a new family, God's family, and a new overriding citizenship, a passport from heaven. And we won't know for a while, I think, maybe a long time, but I do wonder whether
the terrible invasion that we've been watching in Ukraine, I wonder if it was all planned on the basis that people in Ukraine would react as if they were really citizens of Russia. And so actually, these last few terrible days, we have seen what it looks like to be a partner citizen of Ukraine. I watched a video on the BBC website today of a crowd of people filling sandbags out in the open where there's a risk of being hurt, but working together for the defense of their country, citizen, partner. The guy was speaking, and the translation said, he said this: "I've never seen such unity before. Everyone's loading, everyone's doing their best. Lots of bags, glory to Ukraine." It's almost quoting from Philippians. He's not doing that deliberately, but it's the same ideas. If we felt like that about heaven, glory to God and his kingdom, then we would express our citizenship in united, all-in action, everyone doing their best. And then how do you do it? So part 3 is going to come in 2 examples. Point 3, because Paul provides 2 individuals, 2 worked examples, and they come in the second half of chapter 2. One guy called Timothy and one guy called Epaphroditus. One of them comes to Philippi to serve, give loads of time, particularly in teaching the Bible and growing people in faith and knowledge. The other one is our guy from chapter 4, from the reading, who travels from Philippi to the prison carrying the gift of money. They're very different people. They're doing very different things, but in the same shared project. And Timothy, so 3a, Timothy shows you what it looks like to have the mind of Christ. Chapter 2 tells us that Jesus gave himself up. Jesus became nothing because that was good for us. That was in our interests. Then look at 2 verse 20. Because Timothy has that mind. "I have no one else like him who will show genuine concern for your welfare. For everyone looks out for their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ." It's not just for Jesus. It's actually a mindset we can all think. We can all have it. We can think like that. So every time you or I, we find it hard to come in and serve, or come in and talk to someone at church, or hard to give something, well, this mind check. Jesus thought it was more important to do something for me than for himself. Jesus thought I was more important than him. Jesus went to his death because it was better for me, even though he was God. Which explains why in Philippi, 2 families can support 1 person, because they think that is better. The interests of the people in Corinth are better. Explains why Jen comes in to help with Christianity Explored and Free English, giving up evenings. There's not many evenings in a week. I think it's 5 or 6 of them in a normal week, because it's in the interests of the people who come to those groups. Then last one, Epaphroditus, 3b, shows us the boundaries, shows us the edges of pressing on to win the prize. Where are the edges if you think you're the citizen of the kingdom of heaven with a resurrection body to come? So Epaphroditus, he carried the money, verse 25, and it made him ill, verse 26, which distressed everyone who knew him and loved him. And we know a bit about that after COVID, don't we? And in fact, verse 27, he almost died. And you think, what's Paul going to say next? He's going to say, what an idiot, got a bit over-involved, steady on. Paul says, verse 29, "So then welcome him in the Lord with great joy and honor people like him. Because he almost died for the work of Christ, he risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me." It's not a call to get ill deliberately. It's not a call to act foolishly. I hope you're intending to serve the Lord flat out for a whole lifetime. I am. So I eat and I sleep and I take holidays. and I relax as appropriate, which is good for the partnership. Certainly it stops me becoming more of an idiot. It stops you having to look for a new rector in 18 months' time because I've broken down. Should mean you get at least 20 more years out of me here. But there's no part of my life that should not be available. If the Roman Empire wants to lock me up, or there's no sense you stop short when there's a risk. He risked his life to carry the money. Honour him. Jess said a bit about her service with Tamar, with sex workers, said they won't come to church necessarily, so we take the church to them. Don't know how much you thought about that phrase as she said it. I don't think there is a risk-free way to do that, is there? To be out trying to interact with people in the sex industry. So we honour Jess, don't we? Risking life for the partnership that we're in together. Partners, partner citizens with Christ's mind and Christ's passport. So we serve together. I'm going to pray, then I'm going to ask Ellie to come up and explain what we might do practically. So, dear Father, we thank you for the mind and the passport of Jesus Christ. Thank you that in him, in his humble service of us, in his death on the cross, we benefit from his death and his resurrection, that we have an eternal home with him. And so, Father, we ask that with this gospel he's given us, as he calls us to share in it, to take it together, to live for it together, we ask our Father that we would live and serve with his might, and we would give ourselves up in this glorious, joyful work for his praise and his glory. Amen.